Hello all you risk takers and truth seekers to podcast live the battlefield. Today we have a special episode in real time in Berlin. Berlin, the capital city of the spies and espionage. The city with the symbols representing the rise and fall. We're going to address all of them. But today, right now, we are standing in one of the most important historical grounds. Behind me lies beneath us, a couple meters, the Führerbunker, Adolf Hitler bunker, which has been numerous times tried to be destroyed by the Russians in 1947, by the Eastern Germans between 1985 and 1987, and they achieved nothing. The bunker, or remnants of the bunker, are still there under. On the 16th of April 1945, Russians, 2.5 million soldiers, 2.5 million soldiers launched the final attack in race for Berlin. So they fought outside of Berlin, Zillow Heights and places to outside of Berlin. On the 21st of April, the Russians breached the inner defenses of the Berlin. And I think that was a thing for Hitler actually caused a lot of panic, because it was not any more raids against Allied bombers. Now he had a heavy artillery from Russians, shelling, hitting everything on their path. They used the heavy howitzers in a vertical position to destroy the buildings on their path. Russians learned quite a lot since Stalingrad, and they don't apply the same mistakes as the Germans. So when they start attacking Berlin it's a massive city. And this place here, right now, right here, if you turn that position there is a Reichstag. That's the symbol what Russians wanted for themselves. While Hitler is here under the underground in his concrete coffin with his entourage. And now let me tell you something from my personal experience. When you hear artillery shelling around you, you think differently. This is not something you are just protected. Yes, you protect your life, but what you are actually doing, it's actually you don't anymore have the sense of belonging to nowhere except hearing that thunder of the sounds, of the echoing of the explosions above you, and that plays with your mind. Hitler was being surrounded with a hardcore leadership. Needless to say, the last couple of days has been betrayed by the two most loyal people he believed. One was Heinrich Himmler, and second one was Goering. They both betrayed him while he was down in this place here. After Second World War, 1947, the Russians tried to dismantle that bunker. He couldn't. It was a big explosion. Then again, Eastern Germans. We are here today just to show you how history is very important for all of us to learn. How the symbols of rise and fall becomes our concrete tomb. In this case, Adolf Hitler. Adolf Hitler, he created a bunker for himself and his entourage by believing that he's gonna create something more. Today, live the battlefield, it's here. I want to demonstrate to show you what it means that one man he plunged the world into the war with the millions of lives being perished, Holocaust, and list goes on. He was living at the end in his concrete coffin. We're going to show you a little bit more later, but for the live to battlefield, we are here where it's Hitler bunker or Führerbunker. Interesting enough, you can see around a lot of people coming visiting, and not just visiting, but there's another thing. The bunker is not marked, but there's a signage there. So people come to see how this looks like. For what reason, I don't know, but we're going to discuss a little bit later. So let me show you around how this looks like. According to research of some historians, they pinpointed with accurate precision that Hitler's body and his wife, Eva Braun, has been burned exactly here on a crossroads. As you can see, straight here, straight there, in the middle. According to same research, the sentry position here, the guardhouse, was being here exactly where this signage it is. On a corner of that building and that signage there. That was a sentry position. And when you put this in perspective, Hitler body and his mistress and then wife Eva Braun has been buried exactly here. As I say, imagine April 1945. If you look in the uniforms and anything else, it was cold, it was windy. Hitler was smiling and giving the children the medals for bravery and whatever it is, exactly on this spot here. So as I say, please try to imagine 79 years ago this place and the Führerbunker. It was cold, rainy, fear in the bones and souls of every German soldier, every German civilian in this city, who for some reason wanted some miracle to happen. Hitler was being outcast of the outside world for 3 months. A part of the English and American bombers day and night bombing the capital city, even getting his air marshal promised that no one will ever be able to bomb the Berlin. They did. But the last 2 weeks of the battle for Berlin, in this sector here, Sector Z, Citadel, Hitler was underground without even contemplating to come out, because it was not only bomb falling from above, but Russians were shelling. And I'm telling you something from my experience. The sound, the cacophony, that echoing, it creates more fear than anything else. Doesn't matter how deep you're underground. And as we know, Hitler was being burned here, behind me exactly, with his wife Eva Braun. Russians, they identified through his dentist that his jaw belongs to him and bones belong to him. They destroyed a few decades later. So welcome to the Berlin, the capital city of the spies. And by Hitler's death, the new war started, Cold War. So let's go explore that one.
Hitler's bunker, introduction and historical context. Deep beneath the garden of the Reich Chancellery in Berlin lay the Führerbunker, a subterranean bunker complex that served as Adolf Hitler's last headquarters during the final tumultuous months of the Third Reich under World War II. Constructed in 2 phases, with the original structure built in 1936 and expansion completed in 1944, the bunker was designed to withstand the most devastating air raids of the time. Its walls, as thick as 4 meters in some places, were a testament to the Nazi regime's determination to hold out to the very end. The Führerbunker became the epicenter of the Nazi Germany final days, as the Allies closed in on Berlin in April 1945. Its existence was closely guarded secret, known only to a few within the highest echelon of the Nazi hierarchy. The bunker complex was more than a mere military headquarters. It was the last refuge for Adolf Hitler and the site of his eventual suicide, marking a symbolic and literal end to the Third Reich. This introduction lays the groundwork for in-depth exploration of the bunker's role in the final days of the World War II, its construction and structure, key events leading to Hitler's demise, and the post-war fate of this once secret site. The construction of the Führerbunker was a monumental task, aimed at ensuring the safety of the Nazi leadership as Allied forces intensified their bombardment of Berlin. Located about 8.5 meters beneath the garden of the old Reich Chancellery, the bunker was a part of a complex that included several other shelters, including the War Bunker, Forward Bunker, which served as a preliminary protective space. The Führerbunker was a marvel of wartime engineering, designed to be self-sufficient during long periods of siege. It featured about 30 rooms spread over 1,000 square meters, including living quarters for Hitler and his companion Eva Braun, as well as a room for key officers and staff. The bunker was equipped with its own water and electrical supply system, air purification machinery, and telecommunication facilities, ensuring operational autonomy from the outside world. The bunker walls and ceiling were reinforced with steel and concrete, some sections being up to 4 meters thick. This was designed to withstand even the heaviest of bombings. Despite its fortification, the bunker was not intended to be a long-term living space, but rather a temporary refuge during air raids and in event of ground assault on a Reich Chancellery. As the Red Army encircled Berlin in April 1945, Hitler, along with a group of his most loyal followers and officers, retreated to the Führerbunker to make their last stand. The atmosphere within the bunker grew increasingly dire as the news of the advancing Soviet forces reached those inside. Reports of defection and surrenders by German units added to the sense of impending doom. In his final days, Hitler was reported to be in a state of deep despair and paranoia, refusing to leave Berlin and believing in final counteroffensive that will turn the tide of the war. On April 30th, 1945, as the Soviet troops were just blocks away from the bunker, Hitler and Braun, whom he had married just over 36 hours before, committed suicide. Following Hitler's suicide, several high-ranking Nazi officials also took their lives, while others attempted to flee the besieged city. Hitler's body and that of Eva Braun were reportedly burned in the garden above the bunker, in accordance with his wishes. After the war, the Führerbunker, largely undamaged, remained a point of contention and curiosity. The Soviet Union, under whose sector Berlin fell, initially sealed and later demolished parts of the bunker to prevent it from becoming a neo-Nazi shrine. However, the exact location was not made public, and for decades, the bunkers remained lay forgotten beneath a car park. In the 1980s, East German authorities conducted excavation and definitely located the bunker's remains. Following reunification, the German government made efforts to mark the site in a manner that discouraged glorification, eventually installing a modest information board detailing the bunker history and significance. Today, the site of the Hitler's bunker serves as a somber reminder of atrocities of the Nazi regime and the final days of the World War II. It is a place of reflection on the dangers of totalitarianism and the importance of remembering history's darkest chapter to prevent their recurrence.